Bill Gaither is widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in the field of gospel music. His passion for music and his beliefs were both impacted by his youth. The 28th of March, 1936, found William James Gaither being born in the city of Alexandria, Indiana. It was in a little town where he was raised that he developed a deep love for music, as well as a strong faith in God. His parents, George and Leila Gaither, instilled in him the values that he believed in throughout his childhood. His childhood was filled with the affection of a close-knit family. Bill's musical preferences were significantly influenced by the fact that he was exposed to gospel music and Southern gospel quartets when he was a young boy. His parents were devout Christians who attended the church in their neighborhood on a regular basis. Music had a significant role in the worship services that were held. The music of church bands and gospel groups was something that Bill adored, and he rapidly developed a strong interest for singing and writing songs when he was younger. Born in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest, Bill experienced a childhood that was uncomplicated yet filled with joy. He spent the day working around the house, going to church with his family, and playing in the fields with his pals. He also went to church throughout the day. He developed a strong feeling of community as a result of his upbringing in a small town. Church was an essential component of daily life, and neighbors were known to assist one another in times of need. This environment not only helped him develop his passion for church music, but also laid the foundation for his future professional endeavors. Bill was exposed to music by his mother, who was a talented pianist and always sung songs around the house. Bill learned about music from his mother. Whenever he was sitting next to her, he would make an effort to sing along while attentively listening. Over the course of his life, he developed an even deeper appreciation for music. His parents saw his skill and encouraged him to develop it further at a young age. Bill had already begun writing songs and playing the piano by the time he was a small child. He had already begun playing the piano. During his senior year of high school, Bill organized his first gospel quartet with a few of his close friends. After school, they would meet together to practice their harmony, and then they would perform at various occasions in the community, including churches and other gatherings. During this period of time, Bill came to comprehend the power that music possessed, not only as a means of gratifying one's sense of pleasure, but also as a means of bringing individuals closer to their religious beliefs. The fact that he was able to compose heartfelt melodies and songs made him stand out, even while he was still a small boy. Despite the fact that Bill had a passion for music, he first desired to have a job that was more conventional. After completing his high school education, he enrolled in Anderson College, which is now known as Anderson University, and pursued a degree in English and teaching there. Bill was often reminded by his parents of the significance of education, and he believed that if he became a teacher, he would discover a sense of stability in his life. During his time in high school, he decided to pursue a career in teaching English. He enjoyed this profession because it allowed him to connect with his pupils and share his passion for words and tales. On the other hand, his passion for church music remained constant. Even while he was teaching, he continued to compose songs and perform with gospel groups to perform them. In the late 1950s, he formed the Bill Gaither Trio with his brother Danny Gaither and his sister Mary Ann. They were all members of the Gaither family. Through their appearances at local churches and other small gospel gatherings, they gradually gained a reputation for their emotionally stirring performances and melodies that were uplifting. The foundation for what would become an incredible career in gospel music was laid by Bill's upbringing, which was deeply rooted in Christianity, the gospel music that was played in his home, and the unflinching support of his family. The early years of his life were marked by the development of a deep affection for religious music, which would later serve as the impetus for him to compose some of the most well-known church songs in history. It is time. He was raised in a small town in Indiana, where he gained an appreciation for the importance of faith, family, and perseverance in pursuing a goal that he had set for himself when he was a child. The lessons he learned not only influenced his musical style, but also the person he developed into. Over the course of his whole life, Bill Gaither had been surrounded by music, spirituality, and relationships that extended beyond the realm of working together as a musician. It was not just through the composition and singing of gospel songs that he had established a name for himself. He had also done so by bringing people together and providing them with support in both music and life. Jake Hess, George Yunts, and Vestal Goodman were among the individuals who shared a close relationship with him. Additionally, these individuals were not merely his co-workers or performers. Rather, they were his closest friends and those who shared his goal to communicate through the medium of music. There were a number of activities that they did together, including traveling, singing, and praying. In addition, they had shared both joyful and sorrowful experiences together. On the other hand, Bill was not prepared for how devastating it would be to lose all of them in such a short amount of time. The first blow was dealt by the passing of Jake Hess in January of 2004. The well-known voice that Jake had in church music was only one aspect of his personality. He served as a mentor and a figure of a father, and a source of motivation for Bill throughout his entire life. With his one-of-a-kind vocal style, Jake was able to make each and every syllable of each and every song feel very personal. In the first place, it was because of Jake that Bill fell in love with the music that was played in various churches. At the very instant that they came face to face, they had a mutual understanding that they did not have to verbalize. In the end, it was a mutual respect that led to the development of a deep friendship. In Bill's mind, he could still hear Jake's voice, which was clear and soothing. Jake would tell him stories from the road, make jokes, or offer him words of support. Throughout his life, Jake struggled with a wide range of health issues. The steadfast faith with which his friend faced with each challenge was something that Bill had both respected and felt pained seeing. Bill spent a lot of time with him in the latter few months of his life, and he made the most of every opportunity they had to spend time together. When Bill learned that Jake had passed away, he believed that time had stopped. He discovered that he was sitting at the piano performing the songs that they had previously performed together. It was the music that assisted him in coping with his melancholy. As one of the many people who attended Jake's burial, Bill was one of the many people whose lives had been altered by his voice. The soothing tunes that they were singing made it difficult for him to contain his tears as they were being sung. Without the man who had been instrumental in his ascent to the position of musician, there was less noise in the world. During the time when Bill was still trying to come to terms with Jake's passing, another catastrophe occurred in April of 2005. George Yunts, a well-liked bass singer, passed away after his health had been increasingly deteriorating over the course of several years. George was a really joyful and fascinating individual that Bill had ever had the pleasure of meeting. His deep and powerful voice was the driving force behind the Cathedral's rise to fame, and it went on to become an integral member of the Gaither homecoming family. Not only was George skilled, but he was also witty, friendly, and the kind of person who had a deep faith. Bill had spent countless hours laughing at his jokes, sharing meals with him, and engaging in conversations with him about life, music, and faith. He had the ability to make everyone around him feel like they were important. Observing George's health deteriorate had been an intolerable experience for me. Bill went to see him quite frequently, prayed with him, and made an effort to cheer him up, despite the fact that he was aware that the end was drawing near. However, There was nothing that could prepare him for the final farewell. As he sat at the funeral of George with his grieving friends and family, he reflected on all of the moments they had spent together, whether it was on stage, backstage, or on long bus rides, where they would speak about the good old days and plan for the future. George had been treated like a rock by a great number of people, but suddenly that rock was no longer there. When it came to dealing with the weight of the loss, it was almost too difficult. During the time that Bill was beginning to believe that his heart could not handle any more suffering, December 2005 handed him yet another devastating blow. Unfortunately, Vestal Goodman, who was considered to be the queen of church music, passed away at an untimely age, leaving a void that will never be filled. If Jake had been the instructor of the group and George had been the leader of the group, Vestal embodied the spirit. Her voice was so powerful and gentle at the same time that it had the ability to shake any church to its very foundations and incite tears in the eyes of anyone who heard it. It wasn't just her words that made the difference. It was also her presence. Not only did Vestal possess a massive personality, but she also possessed a warm affection that enveloped individuals like a loving hug. The moniker "darling" that she gave to people made them feel as though they were the most important persons in the world. It had always been a source of admiration for Bill that Vestal walked with such grace and force. She had been through challenging circumstances in her life, yet she never stopped singing, never stopped loving others, and she never stopped believing in God. Her untimely passing appeared to be both cruel and surreal. Bill continued playing old films of her singing, and he enjoyed hearing her voice soar on songs such as "God on the Mountain" and "What a Lovely Name." They were some of his favorite tunes. He longed for her infectious laugh, her insightful remarks, and her unwavering conviction that music had the power to heal and inspire. His loss of Jake, George, and Vestal all at the same time caused him a great deal of pain, a significant amount of his own personality. Always more than just music. It was about the tight bonds that they had formed with one another and how they had supported one another through both happy and difficult times. It had lost three of the lights that had been responsible for its brightness. The knowledge that they were singing in heaven, where things were better, provided Bill with peace. He knew this because of his faith. Nevertheless, that did not cheer up his heart in any way. Bill's work in the months and years that followed was fueled by his melancholy, which he exploited as a driving force. He believed that the most effective approach to show his buddies respect was to continue the work that they all had such a strong belief in throughout their lives. It was a habit for him to bring them with him whenever he went on stage. I will recall with him